Have you ever wondered what happens when the biggest band on the planet trades their shiny microphones for flying spatulas, rogue ingredients, and blazing frying pans? Welcome back! Today we are diving deep into the unbelievably chaotic, hilarious, and emotionally intense world of BTS in the kitchen. We all know they can effortlessly shatter Billboard records, but can they actually survive the scorching heat of a ticking culinary timer and the ultimate test of brotherhood? From unexpected gourmet masterpieces that left professional chefs absolutely stunned, to catastrophic dorm disasters involving glued pancakes and alleged ingredient sabotage, we are exposing it all. Who truly reigns supreme when the aprons are tied tight? Who committed the ultimate, unforgivable culinary betrayal against their own bandmate? And which member snatched the coveted #1 crown in a plot twist so incredibly shocking it will leave you completely speechless? Grab your snacks, prepare your hearts, and buckle up, because the kitchen heat is officially on. This is Betrayal in the Kitchen, Top 7 BTS Cooking Moments. You won't believe who actually won #1. Number 7. RM, the God of Destruction, a recipe for absolute chaos. When we talk about the mighty leader of the biggest boy band in the history of the world, Kim Namjoon, also universally known as RM, we immediately picture an intellectual powerhouse with an IQ of 148, a lyrical genius who crafts poetic masterpieces that resonate across the globe, and a charismatic spokesperson who can deliver a flawless speech at the United Nations without breaking a single sweat. However, the exact moment you place a kitchen knife in this man's hand and position him in front of a cutting board, that entire aura of intimidating perfection shatters into a million incredibly endearing, hilarious, and borderline terrifying pieces. Welcome to the legendary kitchen saga of the God of Destruction, where the greatest betrayal isn't necessarily from a fellow member, but from the culinary tools themselves that simply refuse to cooperate with his towering intellect. Do you remember the absolute sheer panic that radiated through the screen during those iconic Run BTS cooking episodes? The tension was thicker than a poorly reduced sauce when RM was tasked with basic food preparation. Let's rewind to that specific, unforgettable moment where he was simply asked to chop an onion. It sounds so incredibly basic, right? Just a simple, everyday task that millions of people do without a second thought. But for RM, it was as if he was trying to defuse a highly sensitive ticking time bomb. The entire fandom collectively held its breath, and fellow members practically screamed in terror as he innocently yet dangerously gripped the knife upside down, completely oblivious to the fact that the blunt edge was the one pressing against the vegetable. The sheer horror on Jin's face, a mixture of maternal instinct and pure culinary outrage, was a cinematic masterpiece in itself. But why does this happen? Is it because a mind that is constantly conceptualizing intricate musical universes simply has no extra processing power left to calculate the angle of a blade against an onion? Perhaps. But the real magic of RM's kitchen nightmares lies in how incredibly relatable and humanizing they are. Behind the global superstar facade is a 20-something guy who genuinely struggles with the mechanics of a frying pan. We have seen him attempt to cook ramen, arguably the ultimate survival food for any college student or busy idol, only to somehow manage to make the noodles look both undercooked and inexplicably soggy at the same exact time. Let us not forget the infamous Avatar cooking episode, a brilliant stroke of variety show genius where the kitchen-challenged members were controlled by the more experienced chefs via walkie-talkies. RM, paired with a desperately stressed-out Jin giving instructions from another room, was a recipe for premium, unfiltered comedic gold. "Put the garlic in," Jin would yell through the earpiece, his voice cracking with desperation. "Which one is the garlic?" RM would helplessly mutter, staring at a tray of neatly organized ingredients as if they were alien artifacts from a distant galaxy. The sheer betrayal here was twofold. RM feeling abandoned in the hostile territory of the kitchen, and Jin feeling betrayed by RM's complete lack of basic culinary intuition. Every time RM approached the stove, the other members naturally formed a protective barrier, essentially putting him in a state of kitchen quarantine. "Hyung, please, just stand there and look handsome," Jimin would often joke, barely able to stand up from laughing so hard. And yet, despite the chaos, despite the burned pans, the oddly chopped carrots that looked more like abstract art sculptures than food, and the constant supervision required to ensure he didn't accidentally set the dorm on fire, RM never gives up. He approaches the kitchen with the same earnest, slightly clumsy dedication that he applies to learning a new dance routine. He truly wants to help. He truly wants to contribute to the family meal. And that earnestness is exactly what makes these moments so incredibly precious to witness. It is a beautiful, chaotic reminder that nobody is perfect at everything, not even a global icon. We watch him struggle with a stubborn jar lid. We watch him try to flip a pancake and completely miss the pan, dropping the batter onto the pristine stovetop. And we don't judge him. We love him even more for it. The emotional depth of these moments cannot be understated. In an industry that constantly demands absolute perfection, spotless images, and flawless performances, RM's kitchen disasters are a raw, unfiltered rebellion against that very concept. It is pure, unadulterated TV time. It reminds us of the early days in their cramped dorm, where money was tight, meals were simple, and the bond they shared over a shared, slightly burnt pot of stew was the glue that kept them going. The evolution from those struggling trainees trying to stretch their food budget to global superstars who still playfully bicker over who forgot to add the seasoning is a testament to their unchanging brotherhood. Have you ever tried to cook a complex dish while 6 other chaotic guys are loudly judging your every single move, stealing your ingredients, and trying to distract you with impromptu dance battles? That is the everyday reality of a BTS cooking session. For RM, the pressure is magnified by 10. He knows his reputation. He knows that the moment he touches a kitchen utensil, the editors of Run BTS are already zooming in on his hands, ready to add those hilarious bouncy sound effects and the iconic large captions that point out his mistakes. He feels the weight of the fandom's collective amusement on his broad shoulders. Yet there was that one fleeting, almost mythical moment when he actually managed to plate a dish that didn't look like a crime scene. A moment of pure, unadulterated triumph where he proudly presented his creation, expecting the usual teasing, but was instead met with genuine, stunned silence. The sheer look of pride that washed over his face, his signature dimples popping, chest puffed out like a proud father presenting his firstborn, was enough to make any fan tear up with joy. But of course, that victory was extremely short-lived, because in the very next episode, he was back to confusing sugar with salt, completely destroying the flavor profile of a beautifully marinated piece of meat. The duality of Kim Namjoon in the kitchen is an absolute roller coaster of emotions. You're laughing one second, terrified for his fingers the next, and ultimately just wanting to give him a giant hug and tell him to step back and order takeout for his own safety. As we move down this list, the dynamic shifts dramatically from pure, innocent clumsiness to deliberate, calculated kitchen warfare. RM's placement at number 7 is a loving tribute to his lack of skill, a celebration of the god of destruction, who ironically manages to build the strongest emotional connections with his bandmates and fans through his most destructive kitchen moments. But prepare yourselves, because the member at number 6 is going to introduce a whole new level of drama to the table. Was it a deliberate act of sabotage, or just an honest, catastrophic miscalculation of spice levels that left everyone gasping for water? The transition from RM's innocent, clumsy chaos to the upcoming member's questionable kitchen ethics is going to give you absolute whiplash. The kitchen is not just a place to make food. For BTS, it's an arena of pride, a stage for comedy, and a fierce battleground for survival. Who will rise above the flames? Who will fall to the pressure? And who will end up eating cold instant ramen in absolute defeat? Stay tuned, keep your eyes wide open, and hold on tight to your spatulas, because the culinary betrayals are just getting started, and you won't believe the massive secrets we are about to uncover next. Number 6. V. The aesthetic alchemist, when visuals collide with culinary disasters. If RM is the god of destruction who breaks the tools, then Kim Tae-young, the man with the world's most handsome face and a soul deeper than the ocean, is the king of abstract culinary art, where the betrayal lies in the shocking gap between how beautiful the food looks and how it actually tastes. Tae-young, or V, doesn't just cook, he performs a ritual of visual storytelling, where the plate is his canvas and the ingredients are his pigments, often leaving the actual edible quality of the dish as a secondary thought. To understand V in the kitchen, you have to understand the mind of a pure artist who sees beauty in everything, even in a pile of burnt flour. Think back to the legendary Run BTS episode 36, the iconic kimchi-making challenge. While the other members were sweating over fermentation levels and the perfect ratio of fish sauce to chili flakes, Tae-young was in his own universe. He wasn't worried about the saltiness, he was worried about the soul of the presentation. This led to one of the most famous, most ridiculous, and most heartwarming moments in BTS history, the squirrel trapped in a garden plating. Instead of focusing on the texture of his kimchi, he spent an agonizing amount of time carefully positioning a tiny plastic squirrel figurine on a bed of greens, treating it like a high-end Michelin star centerpiece. The betrayal here was felt deeply by his teammates, particularly J-Hope and Jimin, who were expecting a functional side dish but were instead presented with a miniature forest dioramas that you couldn't actually eat. It's this Tay-Tay logic that makes his kitchen presence so uniquely chaotic. He operates on a frequency that no one else can tune into. Remember when he was tasked with making a sauce and decided that the most important ingredient wasn't salt or sugar, but the way the sauce looked under the kitchen lights? He has this incredible, almost childlike innocence where he truly believes that if he puts enough love and vibe into the food, it will somehow manifest into something delicious. But the reality is often much harsher. We've seen him attempt to wash meat with cold water as if he were giving it a spa treatment, or stare at a boiling pot with a look of profound philosophical wonder, completely forgetting that he was supposed to be stirring the contents. In the Avatar cooking episodes, V's role was often the most stressful for the controllers like Jin or Suga. Imagine being a seasoned chef like Jin, trying to give instructions through a walkie-talkie, only to see Tae-young staring blankly at a bottle of soy sauce as if it were a rare artifact from the Joseon dynasty. "Tae-young, put the salt in," Jin would scream, and V would respond by elegantly sprinkling the salt from a great height, mimicking the Salt Bay meme, while half of the seasoning ended up on the floor instead of in the pan. This is the ultimate V betrayal. He gives you the performance of a master chef, the confidence of a culinary genius, and the visual aesthetic of a five-star restaurant. But the moment the food hits your tongue, the illusion shatters into 1,000 salty, undercooked pieces. Yet there is something so deeply emotional about watching him try. V is a man who leads with his heart, and in the early days of BTS, when they were living in that tiny, cramped apartment, he was the one who would always try to brighten the mood with his eccentricities. He wasn't the best cook, far from it, but he was the one who would make sure the table looked pretty, even if they were only eating instant noodles. His growth over the years has been fascinating to watch, from a boy who didn't know how to peel a potato to a man who can now, at least, make a decent steak. His journey is one of perseverance and the power of brotherhood. The members tease him mercilessly, of course. They call him out for his creative interpretations of recipes, and they laugh until they cry when he accidentally serves them something that looks like modern art but tastes like a science experiment. but you can see the genuine affection in their eyes. They know that Taeyoung's betrayals are never malicious. They are simply the result of a mind that refuses to be confined by the boring rules of reality. There's a specific kind of atmospheric tension when V is in the kitchen, a mix of will he burn the house down and will he create something beautiful. It's a documentary-worthy study of a creative mind struggling with the rigid structure of a recipe. He wants to innovate, he wants to surprise, and he wants to make the members smile. In one episode, he was so determined to make a perfect dish for his Seongs that he actually looked up recipes beforehand, showing a rare moment of academic focus. But even then, the Tay-Tay flair took over, and he ended up adding ingredients that had no business being in that specific pot, simply because he thought they felt right. The emotional reflection here is that V teaches us that the effort and the aesthetic, the way we present ourselves to those we love, is sometimes just as important as the final product. Even if the food is a disaster, the laughter he provides is a feast for the soul. The way he pouts when his food is criticized, the way his boxy smile lights up when he gets a rare compliment from Suga, and the way he meticulously cleans his station, sometimes more than he actually cooks, all contribute to the legend of the aesthetic alchemist. He is the member who brings the entertainment to the edutainment of BTS cooking. He might betray your taste buds, but he will never betray your sense of wonder. But as we move from the artistic chaos of V, get ready to meet number 5, a member who takes the kitchen much more seriously, yet somehow manages to get caught in the crossfire of one of the most calculated sabotage plots in the history of the group. If V's betrayal was accidental and artistic, the next one is high stakes, high pressure, and involves a level of kitchen drama that would make Gordon Ramsay blush. Who is the member that tried to play it safe but ended up in a culinary war zone? The stakes are rising, the stove is getting hotter, and the next revelation will change everything you knew about the BTS kitchen hierarchy. Are you ready for the next level of betrayal? Because things are about to get very, very spicy.
Number 5. J-Hope, the stressful sanitarian, a pristine kitchen betrayed by chaos. When the blinding lights of the global stadium stages finally dim and the thunderous, earth-shaking applause of millions fades into the quiet, domestic reality of their shared living space, Jungkook, universally adored by millions as the radiant sunshine and unparalleled dance leader J-Hope, undergoes a psychological transformation so drastically shocking it could easily rival a Hollywood cinematic thriller. In the dance studio, he is an absolute commander, moving with liquid precision, isolating every muscle with frightening accuracy, and leading his fellow members with an iron fist wrapped seamlessly in a velvet glove of warm encouragement. But the exact, horrifying moment his meticulously manicured hands touch a cold kitchen counter and a cooking timer begins to aggressively tick down, that intimidating, commanding aura completely evaporates, instantly replaced by the frantic, high-pitched, vibrating energy of a man on the absolute, terrifying edge of a full-blown nervous breakdown. To genuinely understand J-Hope's critical position on this intense countdown, you must first understand his core, unshakable philosophy. Chaos is the ultimate enemy, and dirt is a deeply personal insult to his soul. In the legendary, famously cramped early dorms of BTS in Nonhyandong, while the other 6 energetic teenagers were carelessly leaving a chaotic trail of discarded clothes, half-empty salty snack bags, and mysterious sticky beverage residues across every conceivable flat surface, Hoseok was the exhausted, relentless guardian of sanitation, constantly folding, vigorously wiping, and desperately pleading for a baseline of basic human hygiene. Fast forward to the high-stakes, hyper-competitive, deeply dramatic cooking episodes of Run BTS, and that exact same stressful dynamic is magnified tenfold under the cruel, unforgiving gaze of multiple high-definition camera lenses. For J-Hope, the true heartbreaking betrayal in the kitchen does not come from the complex ingredients, nor does it stem from a tragic lack of culinary knowledge, because surprisingly, he is actually quite a competent, methodical cook when left in absolute peace. But rather, the brutal betrayal comes from the absolute unadulterated anarchy inflicted upon his pristine workspace by his own beloved yet terrifyingly messy bandmates. Imagine the sheer, palpable, heart-stopping stress of trying to carefully measure out a single precise tablespoon of dark sesame oil, while directly to your left, RM is inadvertently threatening to amputate his own fingers with a massive vegetable cleaver, and to your right, Taeyoung is treating a raw, slippery chicken like it's a delicate avant-garde flower arrangement meant for an art gallery. You can physically see the panic violently rising in J-Hope's chest. His signature glowing heart-shaped smile tightens painfully into a grimace of pure, primal survival instinct, and his speaking voice famously octaves higher, transforming into an ultrasonic, desperate screech that sounds exactly like a boiling metal tea kettle crying out for immediate rescue. Do you clearly remember the absolute madness and psychological torture of the Avatar cooking challenge? The unforgettable visual of J-Hope strapped securely with a heavy apron, desperately trying to perfectly execute the frantic, delayed, and often contradictory instructions of Jin, yelling through a crackling low-quality walkie-talkie, is permanently and hilariously etched into the fandom's collective memory. The man was sprinting around the kitchen island like a frightened, elegant deer caught dead in the blinding headlights of an oncoming culinary semi-truck. "Wash the green onions right now," the plastic earpiece aggressively barked, and Hosak sprinted to the stainless steel sink, aggressively scrubbing the fragile vegetables with the intense, terrifying focus of a seasoned surgeon meticulously prepping for a high-stakes, life-saving operation, absolutely terrified that a single, microscopic speck of dirt might ruin the dish's flavor profile, or, far worse, violate his own strict personal code of conduct. The psychological warfare he endures in these moments is truly staggering to witness. Fellow members will casually, almost criminally, wander over to his meticulously organized, mathematically perfect cutting board and pluck a freshly chopped, brightly colored bell pepper, completely and utterly destroying the beautiful symmetry he just spent 5 agonizing minutes perfecting. The look of utter devastation, betrayal, and profound sadness in his wide eyes when Jimin accidentally spills a single dark drop of thick soy sauce on his spotless white counter is a profound, documentary-level study in silent, agonizing suffering. The editors of the show perfectly capture his internal agony by adding hilarious, oversized CG graphics of his soul literally floating out of his open mouth as he watches his kitchen dreams turn to ash. But the absolute peak of J-Hope's kitchen trauma, the undeniable zenith of his culinary betrayal that went down in internet history, occurred during the infamous and utterly bizarre sausage incident. While the other members were casually and quickly tossing cheap processed meats directly into their hot, sizzling pans to save precious time, J-Hope, driven by an unyielding, almost supernatural compulsion for cleanliness that borders on the profound, was caught red-handed on camera, vigorously washing his small sausages under cold, running tap water before even thinking about cooking them. Yes, you heard that absolutely right. He was actively, passionately giving processed, pre-packaged sausages a bath. When the sharp-eyed members finally noticed this incredibly strange behavior, the kitchen immediately erupted into a chaotic, deafening symphony of relentless teasing and hysterical breath-stealing laughter.
"Hong, what in the world are you doing? It's a sausage. It doesn't need a shower." Jungkook wheezed uncontrollably, practically collapsing on the hard kitchen floor in tears. The deep betrayal of being publicly mocked for his unwavering dedication to extreme hygiene cut the sensitive Hosok incredibly deep. He stood perfectly frozen there, dripping wet sausage in hand, offering a defensive, high-pitched, exasperated whine that instantly became a legendary, inescapable viral meme across all social media platforms. Yet beneath the slapstick comedy and the loud screams of pure panic, there is a deeply moving, beautifully emotional current to J-Hope's kitchen endeavors that brings a tear to the eye. He cooks exactly the same he loves, with intense, overwhelming care, a desperate, undeniable desire for everyone to be safe, healthy, and happy, and an overwhelming, heavy sense of personal responsibility. He is always the observant member who will quietly notice if someone hasn't eaten enough, the one who will silently and diligently clean up the massive, intimidating piles of dirty, greasy dishes the others carelessly leave behind, grumbling softly under his breath, but never actually stopping until the stainless steel sink is shining brilliantly. His immense stress isn't just about the food tasting good, it's about his inherent, desperate need to fiercely care for his chosen family of brothers. He wants the shared meal to be absolutely perfect, he wants the communal experience to be flawlessly executed, and the chaotic, messy reality of a BTS cooking session is a direct, violent assault on his deep-rooted perfectionism. We have all joyfully witnessed those rare, beautiful moments where he manages to successfully break through the thick wall of panic, proudly presenting a beautifully cooked, perfectly hygienic, and aesthetically pleasing dish with a massive, relieved, beaming grin, eagerly seeking validation with the wide, hopeful eyes of a young child proudly showing off a perfect report card to his parents. When Suga, the resident harsh critic, slowly takes a bite, chews thoughtfully, nods in silent, stoic approval, and mutters a gruff low, "It's actually really good," the instant, massive wave of pure relief and unfiltered joy that violently washes over Hosok's expressive face is enough to completely melt the coldest, most cynical of human hearts. The arduous, chaotic journey of J-Hope in the kitchen is a beautiful, hilarious testament to enduring love expressed through acts of service, even when those specific acts involve intensely hyperventilating over a mislaid silicone spatula. He is the strong, unwavering anchor of absolute cleanliness in a terrifying, turbulent sea of culinary destruction and madness. But as we finally wipe down the gleaming counters one last time and slowly leave the stressful, heart-pounding sanitation of number 5 behind us, we must mentally and emotionally prepare to take a deep breath and plunge into the icy, terrifyingly calculated depths of our next, highly anticipated contender on this list. If J-Hope's intense struggle was purely an internal psychological battle against uncontrollable chaos, the enigmatic member patiently waiting in the shadows at number 4 represents an entirely different breed of kitchen predator. What exactly happens when the quietest, most observant member of the group suddenly decides to break all the established rules of engagement? Are you genuinely prepared to witness the most shocking, silent, and flawlessly executed sabotage in the entire documented history of BTS cooking? The heat of the stove is rapidly cranking up to maximum. The fragile alliances between the members are quickly fracturing beyond repair, and the next
Number 4. Suga, the stoic chef, the silent mastermind of the culinary war. As we descend into the 4th spot on our list, the temperature in the room doesn't just rise from the stove, it drops from the sheer, icy presence of Min Yoongi, the man who treats a kitchen like a high-security laboratory and a frying pan like a precision instrument. In the high-octane world of BTS variety content, where members are often seen tripping over their own feet or screaming at a boiling pot of water, Suga stands as a glaring, silent anomaly, a figure of calm in an ocean of culinary disaster.
To understand why Suga is the ultimate silent mastermind of the kitchen, we have to travel back in time, long before the sold-out stadiums and the Grammys, to the gritty, humble beginnings of the group's trainee days. In those early years, cooking wasn't a fun variety show segment, it was a necessity for survival. While others might have looked at a bag of rice and a few vegetables with confusion, Yoongi was the one who stepped up, often acting as the unofficial dorm chef who could stretch a meager budget into a meal that felt like home. This history is the bedrock of his skill, creating a deep-rooted competence that allows him to navigate the kitchen with a lethargic yet terrifyingly efficient grace that borders on the supernatural. When you watch him in the Soup, the atmospheric shift is palpable. While the younger members are running around the lake or playing games, you can find Yoongi standing over a massive iron cauldron or a professional-grade grill for hours, his face a mask of stoic concentration, unaffected by the sweltering heat or the biting smoke. The betrayal here is subtle, almost invisible to the naked eye. It is the betrayal of expectation. In a show designed for comedy and chaos, Sugar's refusal to fail becomes a form of psychological warfare against his bandmates. He doesn't need to sabotage their food because his mere existence as a competent cook highlights their every mistake. Remember the iconic moments where he would sit back with a quiet, judgmental smirk, watching RM struggle with an onion or J-Hope hyperventilate over a spatula? His silence is louder than any critique. In the legendary Run BTS episode 102 and 103, the Avatar cooking series, Suga's role as a controller was a masterclass in savage efficiency. While other controllers were screaming and losing their minds, Yoongi gave instructions in a low, monotone drawl that demanded absolute obedience. Put it in, flip it, stop. It was like watching a grand master play chess while the other players were playing tag. The emotional reflection of his kitchen presence is deeply moving when you realize that for Yoongi, cooking is his ultimate love language. He is not a man of grand, flowery speeches or constant physical affection. Instead, he shows his devotion through the Min Si-jin persona, the reliable, hard-working chef who ensures his brothers are well-fed. There is a profound beauty in the way he meticulously slices raw fish into perfect sashimi pieces, a task that requires years of discipline and a steady hand, only to quietly place the plate on the table and walk away before anyone can even say thank you. He doesn't want the spotlight, he wants the satisfaction of a job well done. But don't let that quiet exterior fool you into thinking he's a pushover. The savage Suga side comes out the moment someone dares to interfere with his process. There is a famous story among the members about how protective he can be of his culinary space, and heaven help the member who tries to offer advice on how to season his meat. His betrayal of the variety show idol trope is complete because he treats the food with more respect than the cameras. We've seen him spend an entire afternoon tending to a traditional Korean stew, his eyes reflecting the flickering flames of the wood-burning stove, creating an atmosphere so serene it feels like a high-end documentary about a mountain hermit. He brings an edutainment value to the screen by demonstrating actual professional techniques, how to hold a knife properly to avoid injury, the exact science of the Maillard reaction on a searing steak, and the importance of resting meat before cutting. He is the teacher who never asked for students, but whom everyone is forced to learn from. The tension when he is paired with a less experienced member is legendary. You can see the internal struggle in his eyes as he tries to maintain his "I don't care" attitude while his soul is dying inside because someone is using a metal spoon on a non-stick pan. This is where the comedy peaks. His dry, biting wit becomes a weapon. "If you do that, we're all going to die of food poisoning," he might say, with such a straight face that the younger members genuinely pause in fear. His placement at number 4 is a testament to this duality. He is the most reliable member in a crisis, yet his cold honesty can feel like a betrayal to those who just want to have fun. He reminds us that in the kitchen, as in life, there are those who talk and those who do. As he plates a dish that looks like it belongs in a Michelin-starred restaurant, he often mutters that it's nothing special, a classic Jungi deflection that only makes the members and the fans admire him more. But as we move forward, the question remains, if the silent mastermind only made it to number 4, what kind of absolute, earth-shattering drama is waiting for us in the top 3? We are moving away from the quiet efficiency of the older brother and into the territory of the chaos commanders and the ultimate traitors. Are you ready to see what happens when the competitive spirit of the younger members turns the kitchen into a literal battlefield where no one is safe and the rules of brotherhood are completely thrown out the window? The next member on our list is someone whose charm usually melts hearts, but in the kitchen, he becomes a relentless, cunning strategist who will stop at nothing to claim victory. Prepare your hearts, because the betrayal at number 3 is going to be personal, spicy, and absolutely unforgettable. Do you think you can guess who it is before we reveal the next shocking chapter of this culinary saga? Stay tuned, because the real heat is only beginning to rise.
Number 3. Jimin, the angelic saboteur, weaponizing charm in the culinary war. When Park Jimin, the ethereal lead vocalist and mesmerizing main dancer whose stage presence can captivate millions with a single devastatingly graceful movement, steps into the chaotic battlefield of a BTS cooking segment, you must immediately abandon all your preconceived notions of innocence and angelic behavior. The true heart-stopping betrayal of number 3 lies in the absolute masterful deception of his character, a psychological masterclass in weaponizing pure, unadulterated charm to mask a relentless, cunning, and fiercely competitive spirit that will quite literally stop at nothing to secure a variety show victory. If Suga wins through sheer, undeniable competence and RM loses through terrifying, chaotic destruction, Jimin operates in an entirely different, shadowy dimension of culinary warfare, the art of the adorable sabotage. To truly grasp the magnitude of Jimin's kitchen betrayals, we have to journey back to one of the most legendary, universally iconic moments in the entire history of Run BTS, the unforgettable, logic-defying gravity experiment known simply as the magic sweet potato. In this specific high-stakes cooking challenge, Jimin was tasked with creating candied sweet potatoes, a traditional, seemingly straightforward Korean snack that requires a precise scientific mastery of sugar caramelization. However, true to his fiercely unpredictable nature, Jimin completely ignored the fundamental laws of thermodynamics and culinary science, boiling the thick sugar syrup until it violently transformed into an indestructible industrial-grade adhesive. When the time came to proudly present his creation to the discerning judges, the atmosphere in the room was thick with anticipation. With the confident, theatrical flair of a seasoned Las Vegas magician, Jimin famously flipped the entire plate completely upside down, boldly expecting the sweet potatoes to gracefully fall to the table. Instead, the candied potatoes remained fiercely, permanently cemented to the ceramic plate, outright defying gravity and leaving the entire cast, crew, and millions of global viewers gasping for air in a state of hysterical, tear-inducing laughter. The sheer, unadulterated audacity of presenting a literal culinary disaster as a deliberate, mind-bending magic trick is the absolute pinnacle of Jimin's kitchen strategy. He boldly betrays the very concept of cooking, effortlessly transforming a massive, undeniable failure into an unforgettable, viral entertainment masterpiece. But the high-stakes deception absolutely does not stop there. Jimin is the undisputed, unparalleled king of kitchen espionage. While members like Jin and J-Hope are sweating profusely over their aggressively bubbling pots, laser-focused on executing their complex recipes, Jimin is constantly quietly prowling the perimeter, his sharp, beautiful crescent moon eyes scanning the enemy stations for any microscopic signs of weakness or, more importantly, unguarded premium ingredients. The betrayal here is breathtakingly swift and incredibly merciless. He will casually, innocently stroll past Jungkook's meticulously organized cutting board, flash a devastatingly bright, eye-crinkling smile, offer a soft, wonderfully encouraging compliment, and then smoothly, invisibly snatch a perfectly diced carrot or an expensive slice of marinated beef right from under the youngest member's nose. By the time anyone actually realizes a crucial ingredient has mysteriously vanished into thin air, Jimin is already safely back at his own station, innocently humming a gentle melody and stirring his pot as if he is the most well-behaved, virtuous angel to ever grace the earth. His unparalleled ability to completely manipulate the emotional atmosphere of the kitchen is genuinely terrifying. When he accidentally oversalts a delicate soup, which happens with an alarming, almost highly suspicious frequency, he doesn't panic or freeze in absolute terror like J-Hope. Instead, he deploys a massive weapon of mass distraction. He dramatically collapses to the hard kitchen floor, laughing so incredibly hard that his entire body completely disappears from the camera frame. His infectious, high-pitched squeaks violently forcing the very people he just sabotaged to laugh uncontrollably along with him. How can you possibly be angry at a grown man who is literally curled up in a tiny, vibrating ball of apologetic giggles? You simply cannot, and that is exactly why he is so incredibly dangerous. He fully, deeply understands the immense psychological power of his own overwhelming cuteness and ruthlessly exploits it to magically avoid any and all culinary consequences. In the fiercely competitive Avatar cooking episodes, Jimin's role as an avatar directly controlled by Jin was a brilliant, chaotic display of malicious compliance and passive-aggressive rebellion. While Jin was screaming himself hoarse through the faulty, crackling walkie-talkie, frantically trying to explain the precise difference between minced garlic and crushed ginger, Jimin would deliberately and strategically misunderstand the clear instructions, moving with an agonizing, torturous slowness, pausing to playfully tap the frying pan with a plastic spatula, or dramatically sighing at the complexity of the universe, knowing full well that Jin was currently experiencing a massive, dangerous spike in blood pressure in the isolated control room. The betrayal was incredibly profound. Jimin wasn't just completely ruining the dish, he was actively and gleefully torturing the eldest member for pure, unadulterated comedic value. Consider the legendary kimchi making episode where he and Taeyoung formed the chaotic 95Z unit. While other dedicated teams were meticulously following traditional, centuries-old recipes handed down through generations, Jimin and V were essentially treating the sacred act of fermenting cabbage like a chaotic, avant-garde sensory playdate. The betrayal here was against the very spirit of traditional Korean cuisine. Jimin, completely covered in bright red, aggressively spicy chili paste up to his elbows, spent significantly more time dramatically smearing the pungent sauce on Taeyoung's handsome face than actually massaging it into the delicate cabbage leaves. He weaponized the ingredients themselves, turning a peaceful cultural exercise into a hilarious, intensely messy battlefield. And let us not forget the profound emotional devastation he inflicts during the mandatory tasting sessions. When a dish goes horribly wrong, Jimin has this terrifyingly unique, calculated ability to take a tentative bite, maintain a perfectly neutral, unreadable expression for agonizingly long seconds to build maximum suspense, and then suddenly collapse into a fit of agonizing, dramatic coughs, loudly declaring the food a toxic biohazard, thereby instantly betraying the chef's fragile hopes. Yet beneath this thick, highly entertaining layer of mischievous sabotage and strategic thievery, there lies a deeply emotional, profoundly touching core to Jimin's culinary journey that absolutely must be acknowledged. His intense competitiveness in the kitchen is not born from a place of malice, but from a genuine, overwhelming desire to be deeply loved, praised, and validated by the brothers he cherishes more than life itself. When he actually manages to focus his chaotic energy and successfully contributes to a delicious meal, the absolute radiant joy that explodes across his handsome face is genuinely blinding.
He will literally bounce excitedly on his heels, proudly carrying the dish to the communal table like a victorious ancient warrior returning from a brutal conquest, eagerly waiting for that crucial, affirming nod of approval from Suga, or that dramatic, over-the-top sound of extreme satisfaction from Jungkook. Furthermore, Jimin is always, without fail, the very first member to loudly and enthusiastically compliment the cooking of others, serving as the ultimate hyper-energetic hype man who flawlessly ensures that no one's hard work goes completely unnoticed. He will take a single bite of Jin's famous fried rice and immediately launch into a theatrical, Oscar-worthy monologue about how the complex flavors have forever changed the trajectory of his entire life, massively boosting the morale of the entire exhausted group. When he is the one directly in charge of cooking, he demands absolute, unquestioning loyalty and praise. During one highly memorable outdoor camping special, he decided to boldly take charge of flipping a massive, heavy Korean pancake in an oversized cast iron pan. The entire group gathered around, the tension thick enough to slice with a knife, silently praying for a culinary miracle. Jimin, fueled by sheer, dangerously misplaced confidence and the intense adrenaline of the moment, executed a violent, dramatic upward thrust of the pan. The pancake launched majestically into the cool night air, achieving magnificent hang time before disastrously and tragically missing the pan entirely on the rapid descent and aggressively splattering against the dirty ground. The silence that instantly followed was absolute and deafening. The betrayal was incredibly complete. He had hyped up his imaginary skills to astronomical levels, only to violently crush the hungry dreams of his beloved members. But what did he actually do? He didn't apologize. He simply fell straight to his knees, clutching his stomach, unleashing that legendary, window-shattering, squeaky windshield wiper laugh until his entire body worked hard until tears freely streamed down his flushed cheeks, effectively forcing everyone else to forgive him instantly because his joy is simply too infectious to stay mad at. This incredible, heartwarming duality, the cunning, relentless saboteur who will steal your best ingredients.
Number 2. The Worldwide Chef, a masterclass in betrayed pride. To speak of the BTS kitchen is to speak of the reign of Kim Seok-jin, the eldest brother, the visual powerhouse, and the original culinary backbone of the group. Long before the multi-million-dollar production budgets of today, there was a young man in a cramped, humble kitchen in Nanhyun-dong, carefully documenting his recipes on a personal blog called Jin's Cooking Diary. This wasn't just a hobby, it was a mission of love and survival. Jin didn't just cook for himself, he cooked to ensure that 6 growing teenagers had at least one warm, nutritious meal in their stomachs before they spent 12 hours dancing in a windowless basement. He was the one who bought the ingredients with his own money, the one who woke up early to prepare seaweed soup for birthdays, and the one who mastered the art of making a single pack of meat stretched to feed 7 hungry mouths. This is the foundation of his culinary legend, a history built on sacrifice, dedication, and a deep maternal instinct to provide. However, the betrayal at number 2 is perhaps the most heartbreaking and hilarious of all, because it is the betrayal of the master. In the early years, Jin was the undisputed king. His word was law in the kitchen. But as the group grew in fame and their variety shows became more competitive, the kitchen transformed from a sanctuary into a gladiator arena where his younger brothers began to use his own teachings against him. You can see the shift in the legendary Run BTS episodes, where Jin is often placed in a position of authority only to be systematically undermined by the absolute anarchy of the younger members. Remember the Avatar cooking episodes? Jin was the mastermind, the high-level strategist giving perfect, professional-grade instructions through a radio, yet he had to watch in agonizing, high-definition horror as his avatars ignored his expert advice in favor of pure, unadulterated chaos.
The betrayal wasn't just a lack of skill, it was a lack of respect for the sanctity of the craft. He would scream about the precise temperature of the oil, only to see someone toss in frozen ingredients, causing a dangerous splatter that would make his worldwide handsome face contort in genuine terror. Jin's cooking style is characterized by a dad-like traditionalism. He values the fundamentals, the deep flavors of a long-simmered stew, and the perfect texture of a bowl of rice. Yet, time and time again, he finds himself betrayed by the variety gods, who favor the loud, the messy, and the lucky. There was that unforgettable moment when he worked tirelessly on a dish, pouring his heart and soul into the seasoning, only to have the judging panel, often the other members, give the win to a much simpler, less technically impressive dish just to tease him. The look of utter jaw-dropping shock on Jin's face is a cinematic masterpiece of betrayed pride. His neck turns a bright, vivid shade of red, a famous jindicator of his rising blood pressure, and his shoulders, broad enough to carry the world, slump in a moment of comedic defeat. "How can you do this to me after I raised you?" he would jokingly scream, his voice hitting those iconic high notes that fans adore. But beneath the surface-level comedy of his outbursts lies a deeply emotional reflection on the passage of time. He has watched his babies grow from boys who couldn't boil water into men who now challenge him for the culinary crown. His betrayal is the bittersweet realization that the students have finally surpassed the teacher, or at least they have become confident enough to play tricks on him. We must also reflect on the Eat Jin phenomenon, a series of live broadcasts where he simply ate and talked to fans. This wasn't just entertainment, it was an act of rebellion against the strict, often punishing diets of the idol industry. By showing himself enjoying food with such passion and gusto, he taught millions of fans and his own members that food is a source of joy, not guilt. Yet even in Eat Jin, he was often the victim of culinary betrayal by his members who would accidentally wander into his frame just to steal a bite of his carefully prepared meal, leaving him with an empty plate and a bewildered expression. The atmosphere during a Jin-centric cooking segment is always one of high-stakes drama mixed with familial warmth. He brings an edutainment value by explaining the cultural significance of certain dishes, like the traditional New Year's tteokguk, while simultaneously engaging in a fierce pun war with anyone who enters his personal bubble. He is the master of the one-liner while wielding a ladle like a scepter. But why is the worldwide chef only at number 2? Because for all his skill, for all his history, and for all his undeniable passion, there is one member who represents a force of nature that even Jin cannot fully control. A member whose talent is so multifaceted and whose competitive drive is so relentless that he managed to snatch the top spot in a plot twist that left Jin himself absolutely speechless. The betrayal of the master is complete when the golden student finally steps into the light. As we watch Jin plate his perfect traditional Korean meal with the grace of a seasoned professional, we can't help but feel a pang of empathy for the king who is about to be dethroned. He has given everything to the kitchen, and in return, he has received a legacy of laughter, a few burnt pans, and a group of brothers who love him enough to constantly sabotage him. But the stove is still burning, and the final revelation is just moments away. Who could possibly be more shocking at number 1 than the man who started it all? Who has the audacity to take the crown from the eldest brother? The air is thick with the scent of a final explosive victory. Are you ready to see the ultimate winner of the BTS Kitchen Wars? The one who turned a hobby into a terrifying display of pure genius? Get ready, because the number 1 spot is going to rewrite everything you thought you knew about the BTS hierarchy. It's time for the final, most unbelievable reveal in our top 7.
Number 1. Jungkook, the golden alchemist, the unstoppable student who dethroned the master. The moment has finally arrived to pull back the curtain on the most shocking, most deserved, and most emotionally resonant number 1 in the history of BTS Kitchen Chronicles, the incomparable Jungkook. To understand why the golden maknae occupies this prestigious spot, you have to look beyond the simple act of cooking and peer into the very soul of a man who refuses to be anything less than absolute perfection in everything he touches. The betrayal here is the most profound of all, because it is a betrayal of the natural order. The youngest member, the one who was raised, fed, and protected by his 6 older brothers, has officially ascended to become the ultimate culinary authority of the group, leaving his youngs in a state of perpetual, bewildered awe. Imagine for a second the psychological impact on the older members, especially Jin and Suga, who spent years priding themselves on being the providers. To see Jungkook, who once couldn't even manage a simple stove without supervision, suddenly commanding a professional-grade grill or inventing viral, world-dominating recipes is a reality-shattering experience. The atmospheric shift when Jungkook enters a kitchen is undeniable. There is no panic, no screaming, and no clumsy mistakes. Instead, there is a terrifyingly calm, laser-focused intensity that borders on the supernatural. Do you remember the sheer, unadulterated mastery he displayed during the In the Soup series? While the other members were figuring out how to set up their tents, were lazily fishing by the lake, Jungkook was in the outdoor kitchen, treating raw ingredients with the reverence of a high priest. The way he meticulously prepared fried chicken from scratch, not from a box, not with a pre-made mix, but by painstakingly coating every single piece and monitoring the oil temperature with a specialized thermometer, was a masterclass in culinary edutainment. He wasn't just making a snack, he was demonstrating the scientific precision required to achieve the perfect crunch, a moment that left millions of viewers, and his own bandmates, absolutely salivating. This is where the emotional reflection hits the hardest. Jungkook's cooking is a physical manifestation of his love and gratitude for the 6 men who raised him. Every time he stands over a hot stove for hours, meticulously preparing a meal for the group while they rest, he is silently saying thank you for all the years they took care of him. The depth of his dedication is truly staggering. We've seen him wake up earlier than everyone else just to ensure a full breakfast was ready, or stay up late into the night cleaning every single dish until the kitchen sparkled like a diamond. But the true, world-altering betrayal that solidified his #1 spot occurred during his legendary Weverse live broadcasts, where he transformed from a global pop icon into a viral culinary innovator. Who could ever forget the bulguri era? By boldly combining buldak spicy chicken noodles with neoguri ramen, Jungkook didn't just make a meal, he created a global cultural phenomenon that caused ingredient shortages in supermarkets across the globe. He explained the ratio of water to sauce with the clarity of a chemistry professor, proving that his culinary genius isn't just luck, it's a deep, intuitive understanding of flavor profiles and textures. Then came the perilla oil makguksu, a recipe so refined, so sophisticated, and so perfectly balanced that even professional food critics were stunned by its simplicity and brilliance. The betrayal of the traditional kitchen hierarchy was complete. He was no longer the student asking for help. He was the trendsetter that the older members were now desperately trying to emulate. When you watch him cook, you see a man who is completely in the zone, his sharp eyes tracking the simmer of a sauce, his strong hands moving with a grace that rivals his legendary dance performances. There is a specific kind of atmospheric tension when he plates a dish. The other members gather around, not to tease or sabotage, but with a genuine, hungry respect that they reserve only for him. The look of pure, unadulterated shock on Jin's face when he first tasted Jungkook's self-taught creations is a moment that will live forever in BTS history. It was the look of a master realizing that his protege had not only learned all his secrets, but had added a golden touch that made the food taste like something from another dimension. Jungkook's cooking presence is a documentary-worthy study of what happens when obsession meets talent.
He doesn't just follow a recipe, he deconstructs it, optimizes it, and perfects it. Whether he is searing a steak to a perfect medium rare with a professional blowtorch or making a simple bowl of rice look like a gourmet centerpiece, he does so with a level of confidence that is honestly intimidating. And yet, despite this absolute dominance, he remains the humble maknae at heart. When the members shower him with praise, his nose scrunch and his shy, bunny-like smile reveal the boy who still just wants to make his brothers proud. The emotional weight of this is immense. He has become the pillar of strength that now supports those who supported him. He is the ultimate winner of the BTS kitchen wars because he conquered the most difficult ingredient of all, himself. He overcame the clumsiness of youth and the pressure of expectation to become a self-made master. Every sizzle of the pan, every flick of the wrist, and every perfectly seasoned bite is a testament to his golden spirit. He didn't just win a competition, he won the hearts of his brothers and the entire world by proving that with enough passion and focus, even a kitchen can become a stage for greatness. So, as we close the book on this incredible saga of culinary betrayals and triumphs, we have to ask ourselves, who else could it possibly have been? Jungkook doesn't just cook, he creates memories. He bridges the gap between the past and the future, and he does it all with a level of skill that leaves us breathless. He is the undisputed, unparalleled, and absolutely unbelievable #1, the true king of the BTS kitchen. Are you still shocked by the result, or did you see the rise of the golden alchemist coming from a mile away? One thing is for certain, the kitchen will never be the same.